Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Basketball Trash Talk channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about hidden upside fantasy players. Players that you should be targeting, whether they're on your waiver if you're in a 10-team league or via trade if you're in a deeper league. These are players that can win your entire season. Okay, let's get started. First of all, what is a hidden upside player? Well, if you go onto a player rater and you see two players are ranked 75th in the season, let me tell you why those two players are not the same. Let me give you an example. Player number one is Mike Conley. He's 35, 36 years old. He's already a starting point guard. He's not going to be unlocking new levels to his game. I know Mike Conley's been playing at around the 50th best player, but if Mike Conley was playing as the 75th best player, you'd expect that's about as good as he's going to get based on role. Now, let's look at the second player, okay? And that second player is somebody who's, let's say, Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond's getting his stats in 17 or 18 minutes per game, coming behind Joel Embiid. By the way, Joel Embiid is one of the most injury-prone players in the NBA. If right now, 7 or 8 games into the season, both of those players are giving you the same production, who has all of the upside? It's the guy that could literally double his minutes. There are tons of scenarios throughout the league where two players will have similar ratings on player raters based on your league scoring, but they do not have similar opportunities. If the bottom half, the bottom 4 or 5 players on your team are stocked with these hidden upside players, it is literally just a matter of time before someone tweaks an ankle, someone sprains a hamstring, someone gets traded, and suddenly your player that was super efficient in 17, 18, 22 minutes per game is now getting 28, 30, 32 minutes per game, and you look like a genius because your player went from 75th value to top 30, top 40 value. So let's talk about some of the ways hidden upside players happen. I already talked about the difference between what a starter is and what a bench player is. If your player is a bench player, the chances are they might be a hidden upside player. There's a lot of value that comes from finding guys that are a positive, that are rosterable, that are in a reduced role, that have the opportunity to get an exaggerated role later. The next thing we look at is team role, okay? If these are players who have a lot of talent but are being asked to do less for the benefit of roster construction. The perfect example of this right now, and this guy's carrying my leagues and making me look like a genius, is Big J-Val, Jonas Valanciunas of the New Orleans Pelicans. Without Zion, he has been absolutely feasting. We're talking about a top 10 player. But people are afraid of what's going to happen when Zion comes back. I'll tell you this right now. Every game that Zion does not play, J-Val will be a top 20 player. So what do I want you to do? I want you to wait until Zion comes back and jogs his 300-pound body out there. And then I want you to trade for Jonas. The first bad game that Jonas has with Zion, I want you to trade, get him back. Try to get him for a top 35 to 50 range player because Zion will not stay healthy for the rest of the season. And when Zion returns to the bench, now you've suddenly got that top 15, top 20 player that is Pelicans J-Val. Now, some teams are getting ready to drop Chris Boucher. I have him up here. Last year's darling, he won a lot of teams championships. He made a lot of teams get to the playoffs. This year, he's outside of the rotation. Nick Nurse hates him. But 1 or 2 injuries, and Boucher is going to be force-fed minutes. Right now, everyone's going, oh, Siakam's going to come back. Oh, Siakam's going to come back. Yeah, Siakam's going to come back. But 1 injury to Birch, 1 injury to OG or Pascal, and suddenly Boucher is back in that top 50 range. If you were in a punt, assist, steals build, Boucher was something like the 17th or 18th best player. This guy deserves to be the 11th or 12th man on your roster because you're just waiting. You're lurking. You're waiting for those minutes to go up. Team direction, okay? This is the Christian Wood example from 3 years ago. This was back when the Pistons still had Andre Drummond before they traded him to the Cavs. We all knew that Christian Wood was the future of the Pistons. Now, he didn't end up staying, but the Pistons needed to be developing young talent. Per minute, he was a monster. When he got the start, he was a monster. Put yourself in a position to have these players on the backside of your bench. Why do I have Myles Turner up here? You're going to go, Josh, he's already a starter. Yes, he's a starter, but he's only getting like 23, 24 minutes per game. And Rick Carlisle does not feel like he has to play because Sabonis is a monster. If you can get even value in a trade for Myles Turner right now, and you're getting him for someone in that 45 to 60 range, I think you're carrying all of the upside. Per touch monsters, okay? Who are the players that you should go for? We already talked a little bit about Andre Drummond. I'm just going to throw a list up here, try to make this a shorter video. I already talked about Boucher. Jonas, after Zion comes back, Myles Turner, Ricky Rubio, okay? Garland is the future of the Cavs, but they're playing Garland with Ricky Rubio for a lot of minutes. And Sexton is not with the Cavs organization long term. I'd look for Sexton to get traded, potentially benched, similar to how Drummond was benched when he played for the Cavs. Larry Nance, baby. You know, Nurk has had health issues. Yusuf Nurkic has had health issues his entire career. Rocco, Lord Robert Covington is not a bastion of health. I would be owning Larry Nance as my 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, last guy on the roster, but I want to be holding on to him. Now, it's a little funny that I made this video. I should have recorded it 5 hours ago, but Rudy Gobert is just announced to be out for at least a game or two. So Hassan Whiteside is going to eat, baby. Whiteside should be owned. Now, I'm not saying that 6 of these guys should be on your roster in a 12-team league or in a 10-team league, but you should be carrying 3 or 4 of these guys, and if you don't have them, try to trade a player that is rated where they are for that player with the hidden upside, okay? Couple quick hitters, quick thoughts before we end the video. One, I've been noticing this. I've been watching a lot of basketball. The new rules mean that you can be a lot more physical with the defender, which means that people are getting less blow-bys. I'm seeing increased turnovers, which also means increased steals, and I'm seeing less shot blocking overall. Why are there less blocks? Why are blocks becoming rare? My theory is that previously when you couldn't touch a guy, when you couldn't guard him as closely, players got beat quickly. So that meant there was a lot of help side opportunities and a lot of shot blocking opportunities. With the new rule changes, players are being able to stay in front of their primary defender, which means less help side. So it's going to be harder and harder to get blocks. Next thought, there's more to this Zion story. I think that some news is going to come out that Zion is very unhappy. The way that the injuries were leaked, his weight, it looks like he's not bought in, and I would hate to be a Pelicans fan right now. I would be trying to sell my Zion the first week that he comes back if it even looks like he's going to play. Take advantage of that. Last month to get a hold of Johnathon Isaac. News about Johnathon Isaac is going to start breaking by the end of this month. When he comes back, he's going to be a fantasy darling. He's going to be a monster. He's going to negatively affect Mo Bamba's value. He's going to negatively affect any of the other Magic big men. But he's going to be a monster. If you can get him on the cheap or if he's on your waiver wire somehow, go ahead and snatch him up because I expect him to be back by mid-December, and he's just going to be an absolute monster. This goes back to my next point, which is I would be looking to trade Magic players. Now, don't dump them. Don't sell them low. But if you can get equal value for Magic players, their roster is going to be in flux, and I'm not necessarily sure that everything's going to stay the same with them. They might be looking to unload more vets. They might have a couple injuries, and suddenly they're not able to hold it all together, okay? A lot of their players are young and are not in advanced scouting reports yet. The back half of seasons is brutal on young players, especially young players who don't have a star to rely on. Okay, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos and updates as we try to get through this fantasy basketball season. Please comment any questions you have. A lot of people have been commenting with trade suggestions, asking me what I think. Make sure you give me your league settings. And then finally, tell me what kind of video ideas you'd like to see. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.